Alright, y'all, so I've had a lot of time to try out all the new characters in the Gekishin Squadra network test ongoing. On top of that, I have had ample time to also reuse the older characters from the previous network test, and we're just gonna hop in and do a tier list for this game. Now, I think that some things may change when the game officially releases, but compared to the previous network tests, there aren't really many differences actually. So I think more or less things will stay very similar to how they are right now when the game does officially release in 2025 as they confirmed. I'm expecting August, maybe September, but we'll have to wait and see what they do. Now, there are a total of 16 characters here in the game, at least in terms of the network test, and we're gonna rank them like this. So I do have a couple of options here. At the very top, the most important is best in role. So I'm gonna put only 3 characters up there, which would be the best character I feel is in each role, which is attacker, defender, and technical. Now keep in mind that isn't necessarily, oh, these are the top 3 characters in the game, because you could argue, I think a lot of people will agree, tanks kind of run the game. I would think maybe multiple tanks could be better than a technical or an offensive character, but I think that you are again restricted to using only a certain amount of those characters per match. Of course, 1 technical, 1 defense, and then 2 attackers. So I'm just gonna keep 3 up here to keep things simple. Then everything else will be more or less streamlined for the most part. You guys will see what I mean when we actually start building the actual tier list. But of course, great in roll is basically second best options. Decent in rolls, like you could cook with them, but there are some things that I feel like can get in their way. Niche and roll, you have to really play them a specific way and maybe get luck on your side, and then you could actually cook with them. Don't use as a character that I just, or characters that I just feel like, like, why would you choose them? Realistically, like, why would you choose them? There's just like no point, to be honest. But we're gonna go ahead and hop in, and I think we'll start things off with the we'll just go down the line. Honestly, there's not really a specific character, so I would like choose or not choose. So we'll start off here with Goku. Now, Goku right here is a just generally good character. Goku has a lot of good tools with him. I think, again, like it says, he's a well-rounded hero. He has a bunch of different techniques that kind of allow you in many situations to move around the map or attack and damage, etc, etc. But of course, he's mainly an attacker at the end of the day. Now we can go ahead and check out the details here. He has a Super Saiyan transformation. I think having a transformation is pretty good in the fact that you're able to become invincible during that, and we'll see that with a lot of other characters like Cooler, Vegeta, right? A lot of characters do have the transformation, but being able to push enemies back when you transform along with being invincible and maybe regaining health, that is going to be really nice. Now, Goku's passive skill is the Violent Rage, an ability that makes him stronger against target of anger. Targets enemies who have KO'd an ally near him, increases damage to the target, and makes them findable even if he cannot see the target. This is relatively cool, right? And just getting more attack as an offensive character is nice. I just think that what usually happens in this game is like 2v2. So even though you're going to be able to see the enemy, there's not going to be a lot of situations where the enemies are going to be low enough HP for you to potentially snipe them. I think it can happen, and getting that attack bonus could be useful, but if you're getting 2v2'd at that point, it is probably smarter to just run away and regroup rather than try to finish the enemies off again, unless they're on super low HP, in which that case the damage increase doesn't really matter, if that makes sense, right? So I'm not really a fan of this passive personally. It's fine, right? His physical attack is just a rush attack, melee right here. So the Kamehameha, I think early game is very mediocre. It's not really something that I like really focus on that much. But end game is when this gets really powerful. It gets to be a huge range, and we see that movement speed down applied, just always allowing you to kind of keep the enemy from leaving. First off, if you use the Kaioken, then let's say maybe you could use the Meteor Hammer after, swoop in, get some burst damage, right? Now, The Meteor Hammer is, I think, in my opinion, his best move by far. It has multiple uses with it. You can use it to go ahead and close in distance, but you can also use it to get away. You can dash a pretty far length of, what's the word I'm trying to find for, like distance, right? And with Kaioken, you can actually deal additional damage and provide a small stagger. But in general, this is just a good ability. So like, you don't even have to use Kaioken if you're trying to run away. You could use this, then you could use Kaioken when you're dashing. And Kaioken is a nice little move right here. It just gives you overall buffs. But I think the best thing about it is that movement speed up, especially when you're trying to get out of a lot of tricky situations. Maybe you're trying to get to a god of destruction really fast and you're just kind of trying to zoom around the map. Not many characters have abilities like movement speed up to themselves, so I think this is quite useful. And if you are able to combine it with like the Kamehameha in certain situations, it can be very nice offensively. But I think this guy is kind of more of a end game character rather than early game. He's not super great early game, I feel like, but once he really ramps up, this guy can start looking very powerful and can start be really good at confirming kills. Now the Spirit Bomb here, I think it's really wide in range, but it's low-key a little easy to escape sometimes, right? Especially, you can just kind of vanish out of it. Now, it can force your enemy to vanish out, but I think you kind of have to really plan it ahead of time. You might need another character like Super Saiyan Vegeta to hold the enemy down so that you could really launch this Genki Dama out. But it's like a fine ult. It's very basic. It does more damage the more ally heroes are on your team. So if you're like, it's conditional damage is like in that situation, because I feel like the thing is, I guess it does help if you're really snowballing, which is very, very common in this game. But if you're not snowballing and like two of your allies are down, you just lose out on damage, unfortunately. You could also use Kaioken to cause an explosion for more damage, which always useful, right? Kaioken is just benefiting everything right here. So, I mean, I personally focus on a bit of these two, and then Kamehameha. Once you're able to really get that up there, it could be very powerful too. But yeah, again, Goku's just a good overall character. He's not bad. He's not great though. I'm gonna say I think Goku would be an decent in role here. Again, I'm not seeing anything where I think he truly mega stands out to me like some of these other characters have, but he does have quite some sauce with him. So I do like Super Saiyan Goku in terms of how he's going to be able to do in this kind of endgame environment. Now, we could go ahead and talk about Super Saiyan Vegeta. And Vegeta, again, very good character. Now, this guy is crazy good, and I know a lot of y'all from the previous network tests know how good this character is. I think we just really have to talk about the skill too. This is, I mean, arguably still the best move in the game right now. This photon bomber is absurd. This right here, the length you see, is not even like a true showcase of how large that photon bomber can get when it's fully maxed out. Pulling the enemies towards the center, if you know how to aim this properly, which it's like super easy to go ahead and do that, this just really like makes you take a huge advantage. It's just a stupid ability. You could pair this with so many ultimates. You could pair this with so many skills that, usually maybe you have to have a good aim or good, requirement or whatever the case is. Vegeta's like, no, actually, they're there. Take care of them. So he just works well with basically every character because of this move. It's really stupid. We do have this, which does apply cooldown when HP is below a certain percentage. So this just makes all of his moves have a better cooldown, which again, as a tank character, he wants to be very aggressive. And the thing about having that reduction of the cooldown is we can talk about this third skill right here. This explosion, it makes space and gives you armor. It can give you a pretty decent amount of armor too if you hit a bunch of enemies, I believe. So this is just continuing his survivability, that he can continue to keep pushing and, you know, maybe protecting from the God of Destruction in terms of the enemies hitting you. Like this on point for the God of Destruction, your enemies aren't able to do their Gekishin burst, and this just kind of really holds them back. This is another ability that could prevent Gekishin burst. This is an ability that could potentially keep enemies from going into the God of Destruction you're attacking by keeping them out. The consecutive energy blast is fine. The most important thing is that it does restore his armor. The damage can be decent, but it's really that armor restoration that you're using it for, which is essentially armor is just health for the most part. He has a Super Saiyan transformation, very basic, very good. Big Bang attack also does restore armor, so he just has so much survivability. It's super hard to kill this guy. He pins the enemies down. He does pretty good damage still. Vegeta does still pretty good damage, which is also really dumb. So I think Vegeta, funny enough, he is great in role. I don't think he's the best tank, but he is very, very, very good in his role. He's able to accomplish everything he wants to do. He's super easy to use. He's just straightforward out there. Vegeta is just, again, very powerful, right? I do really like Vegeta and what he's able to accomplish. So next we'll go ahead and talk about Dabura, since he's again up next here. Dabura is a good character. I think that he is not as good as people expected him to be, which in my opinion, I was like, I'm not 100% sold on Dabura. I did say that in my breakdown video when his, you know, gameplay first came out. I thought he could be really good, but the actual petrification bar, again, we'll take a look at it right here. The petrification bar is what is important for this guy. So you see right here under the enemy, this little bar fills up as he attacks the enemy, and it fills up pretty slowly. But if you're able to lock the enemy down with Vegeta, Cooler, a lot of these other tanks potentially, he has the ability to freeze the enemy with his spit, which I believe again, he just does way more damage to enemies in the stone spit form, basically. And he could do extremely disgusting damage, especially with his first skill. Now, rest attack is just normal, but again, the third attack actually does feel petrified gauge. Keep that in mind. This attack is, I think, his best move. It just does a really quick burst damage. Look at the damage it does to a petrified enemy. It's crazy. But the really important thing is the amount of petrification bar it fills up. So you'll likely be using it leading an enemy into petrification rather than not. And this is just overall very good, right? Again, because of the damage that it's actually able to do. And if you use it after vanishing step, it reduces the activation time. You create an explosion, of course, in front when attacking, causing more damage. It's just very quick, very nice burst damage. Pretty decent range here when it's really leveled up. I do like Dabura quite a bit. The spears right here apply no vanishing step. He actually gets movement speed up. So if you have to kind of aim this pretty decently, or have like Vegeta or Cooler there. And if you're able to hit an enemy with this, it really locks them down. That no vanishing step is very brutal, especially when you're gonna petrify someone. Like, I've gotten caught in a few situations myself with that. And then you're like Darkness Spear into Doom's Ray, and then the enemy's basically like GG, right? You know, you cook them. Right here, this Evil Flame, again, debuffing, applies DOT burning. Great, right? The Evil Blast is the only thing that's like, it's just generically good. It's not really applying any debuffs, but the petrification gauge going up, always a thumbs up to me. Dabura's good. He's just overall good. I just think Dabura, you know, you have to kind of think with what you're doing with him. He's not like kind of, oh, just skill 2 every time and just spam your moves like Vegeta. Dabura's a character you have to calculate a little bit with what you're doing with him, and you want to have a good setup with him, but the payoff is super huge. And I think that he's still relatively like, honestly, the game in general is very easy for newcomers, especially to like newcomers to MOBAs, but Dabura just could do crazy damage, man. He's quite strong. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and personally put Dabura Also in the Great and Roll, let's go ahead and take a look here. I think he would be a better attacker than Super Saiyan Goku overall, and he has just, you know, aura to him with that Demon's Domain right here. That's pretty good, pretty good. So next we'll go ahead and talk about a young body baby next. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, this guy is the best unit of the game. I think he like you can make a very, very good argument he's the best unit of the game. Burst damage being low is so silly. He does so much damage. He actually does really good damage paired with especially with Oob, dude. Oh my goodness, that pairing is so obscene. It's crazy, and you're gonna see me talk about that pairing probably later. But the possession right here. So he takes possession of enemy heroes, KO an enemy hero with the finisher to possess and control them, who lose control when the enemy hero responds. Honestly, this is just kind of fine. I think what this could be really good for God of Destructions. You take over an enemy hero, you take over their skills, you use their skills, and you go back to yourself, right? Or like again, if you're trying to protect your God of Destruction being attacked, right? This is especially going to be good in endgame, where if you kill someone in endgame with baby, like it could take 20 plus seconds to respawn, and you have like a fully built up character in endgame basically. Well, maybe not fully built up, it depends on how snowballing you're going and like how high your levels are compared to the enemy, but like you also just go back to yourself even if you get killed as the hero that you took over. So this is just overall good. If you know a bunch of characters in the game and how they work, you're gonna do really good with this. So this is very also unique, of course. He's also a ranged character. I feel like ranged characters low-key just have a benefit compared to like characters like Goku, who maybe have to like really get in your face, right? Or Dabura, for example. Finger Blitz Barrage. This is actually stupid. This is actually dumb. This move is this move is genuinely crazy. Look, firstly the range when it's really maxed out, but you can move and you just push them away. You say bye, get out, bye, and then they're just gone, and then you just do a buttload of damage at the same time. It also, it's just, yeah, it's dumb because you can just move and just push them so far back, right? Energy Explosion here is again another move that applies movement speed down when you hit them. He gets strike defense up, so again this is really good for characters like a Goku or Dabura. Shortens cooldown of possession when the enemy hero is hit, and we'll talk about possession allies. You can move, you could cancel the skill, generate a huge final explosion when you're maxed out, which will just do extra damage. This is, I think that this is too good. Like him having the backup fire is crazy. So guys, you see the strat about this is you restore your HP, and then you could also restore your allies HP with the backup fire every time you hit someone. Or it doesn't have to hit an enemy, it can also hit a mob, like someone on the field that you need to kill for XP. And then you restore someone's health for the character you took over. Like, it's actually obscene. If you play your cards right, you are basically giving yourself and your ally 2 lives. You have double the health if you play your cards right and do it properly, because you just full heal yourself and then you full heal your ally, and then you just keep pushing. So again, I think this is especially good paired with an offensive character that's really able to push. Maybe Vegeta could also be good for this as well, but I feel like, you know, with tanks, they're able to have a lot of sustainability anyways. So this is best with an attacker who may not have that much sustainability, but is able to really continue to push and do extra damage. This is also arguably like the best move of the game. It probably would be like the best move code in the game. It's dumb. It's dumb. I don't know what they were thinking with this. This actually has to be nerfed probably. Like the health it recovers is too cut. Revenge Blast. It does decent damage. It gives him a buttload of health. It's pretty much just allowing him to be tankier. But honestly, I don't think it's like the most needed move, especially with the possession allies. It can help you in a pickle, but I think this is like an ultimate, like I would rather save this ultimate for the Gekishin burst personally, and only use it if I have to in emergencies. And I think that's the general idea of it, right? You use it in emergencies when you're getting tagged up on, and it could potentially allow baby to again escape or like have an ally come back and help you, right? Anyways, I think baby is the best tank. If you couldn't tell already, I think baby is the best tank, right? He's he's a silly guy. He's a silly guy. So we have Super Oob next here. Now, again, I talked about Oob, and I think this is a really good partnership. Oob and Baby are busted together as a partnership, but the thing about Oob is that he's basically like an upgraded version of 18 almost, like a ranged version of 18. It's kind of what it is, which is just straight up like obviously better, but he could do quite a bit of damage. Like he's really insane. The Cyclone is again the huge part. You gain it by again firing energy blast with certain skills, which is his skill 1 right here, his skill 2 obtain Cyclone, and then it's not this skill 3, but skill 1 and skill 2 give you the Cyclone essentially. And over time the Cyclone is used by your rush attack right here and your Cyclone burst, but we'll talk about the Cyclone burst in a bit. Again, Oob is a ranged character, pretty good range. This right here is just, it does really good burst damage as well. Oh yeah, wait, one thing I forgot to talk about Baby, by the way. This move, you have 2 stocks of it. You could use it twice, by the way. Like, if that wasn't already stupid. So like, you don't have to wait for it to cool down to use it again. You could use it twice, and then after that you have to wait for the cooldown, but yeah. So Cyclones, when some of the blasts return to him, so it just shoots out, and then some of them do return, and the mob obtain increases if you hit the enemy with it, which duh. And you can move when you use it, so you're able to adjust a little bit if you maybe miss the enemy barely or they're trying to get out. This right here, Brutal Buster, is the burst damage with this is a bit too strong. Also, I think that obviously increases the range of your rush attacks. Not only that, but it increases the number of blasts and it shortens this cooldown when homing blast hit. The homing blasts come from the actual shooting chaser right here, which is because increases the range of rush attacks and shooting chaser, which is right here. But most importantly, you see the Cyclone will again continue to go with you with the rush attack, so you're just doing so much extra damage at that point. He just melts enemies. The shooting chaser, I think, is really good, more so in, especially in endgame, when you're able to get one of that divine card that could boost like movement damage, right? This is really good with that. And again, you also obtain Cyclone when you burst the enemy, but it is a very fast dash. It just does very quick damage. So like the ideal scenario is you use Rage Barrage / Shooting Chaser and then you Brutal Buster, or you could do the Cyclone Burst. Cyclone Burst just does a big, huge amount of damage. I feel like the range isn't that crazy, honestly, but you're able to do, like, if you have a lot of Cyclones, sort of, dude, this is a crazy hard hitter. And you could also apply Candy to enemy heroes as well, which you're able to damage them now when they're in Candy fight, by the way. In the previous network test, you couldn't actually hurt them. Now you can hurt them during that, so they're just stuck as Candy. They can't fight back, and then you just keep beating them down, right? Oob's stupid. Oob's broken. I also think Oob is the best attacker, right? I think Oob is just up there. I would say he's the best attacker in the game. Yeah. I think maybe it's more like there are arguments you can make for best tank or best attacker, but I think that Oob and Baby take it for me. Now we can talk about Zamasu here. Again, Zamasu, again, HCC right here, he's not really difficult to use. Zamasu is very straightforward. You use this skill 1, apply movement speed down. This is the skill that you focus on for the most part, and it does buff up your body regeneration on top of this. So you see this little bar under here. If you do take a lot of damage, you can actually live, and then you consume the gauge to gradually heal yourself if it's not maxed out. If base HP is 0 and the gauge is filled above a certain percentage, he actually fully consumes it to heal himself as well. So he has basically a survive KO mechanic. Again, if you played the previous network test, you kind of know what this guy is doing. This is fine. It just is really good for enemies who are trying to run away, I think especially. This right here applies the continuous damage, which is nice. This move is kind of whatever though. This is very strong. Drops an energy blast down onto yourself. So if enemies are attacking you, they're just like gonna get hit by this essentially. He does get immune to self when attacking, but on top of that, the movement speed down is applied, and then the closer they are is the slower that they are, you know, from running away. So this is stupid and busted as well. I guess, especially paired with other strong ultimates. Zamasu is just straight up good. I would say I did notice overall, like, I feel like Zamasu's squishier now. I don't know if it's because they're just more good attackers generally, but I also think that his health might have been lowered. So I feel like Zamasu he was best tank before. I don't think he's best tank anymore, but Zamasu is still really good in this role. And again, the tiers and stuff won't be ordered inside them, just so you guys keep in mind. But yeah, Zamasu is really good. And I'm going to try and not spend too much time on the characters that were in the previous network test, if that makes sense. I don't really think that we will need to, because I think they're characters we already know about. So we see Krillin here. Now, it's going to play Krillin's audio in the background. Actually, I might change... Alright, I just put the lobby OST on there. So, Krillin's very good. I think overall, he is a great technical character. He reduces cooldown time for his skills, so he just generally is able to use his attacks much more often. Applying marked to an enemy also shortens skill cooldown, so with that he can continue to do that even more, which is very nice. I think Krillin's fast attack is... I mean, I feel like they're generally all good. I keep using that word generally, but I think Solar Flare is his best attack there. The blind is crazy. You know what I ran into today? I didn't even think that this could be a really good combo, but it is. Dabura and Krillin. Krillin blinds the enemy, marks them. And then Dabura is like swooping in, and you don't know where Dabura is, so you can't really get away super good. And then Dabura just like petrifies you and kills you. It's kind of dumb. Same thing you could do with Vegeta, but anyways, this is not about Dabura, this is about Krillin. This blind light right here is just very nice. The range is stupid. Place energy blast. I really like this. This is really great, especially for protecting auto destructions. The damage it could do, especially with some of these divine rules, like, you know, the one that has the skill 1 burst damage. This is one of the moves I think that benefit a lot. That and Oob as well. But this move does crazy damage and becomes invincible. Not invincible, invisible. Like sometimes, like I'm just walking through the map and I get hit by it and I take like a decent chunk of my health. I'm like, oh, that's crazy, right? So if you place these strategically, as well as if you place them where God of Destruction is, that will be really good. It does also shrink their field of view. And applies marked, which will only allow Krillin to get less cooldown on his techniques. Scattering energy blast does target marked foes, so this is just something you can do for burst damage. If maybe you're trying to either make space or just get away, you can do solar flare, then run away. But you could also control the blast mid-flight. But yeah, I think overall this is just a good move too, right? It could do a nice little chunk of damage itself. The Kienzan is it covers like the whole lane basically, and increases extra damage with those who are debuffed, which I think there's a lot of debuffs in this game, honestly. And he just does crazy damage to this too, for a technical, for sure. I think Krillin just has a lot of unique moves. He has a lot of ways to poke around the enemy. He has like ways for you to really push in. He has ways for you to escape with the solar flare. He has ways to disrupt the enemy around the field. Like he's just doing a lot. I feel like he's pretty quick too. I don't know if it was just me, but he feels pretty quick compared to a lot of other characters. I like this guy. Like he cooks. Krillin cooks. I think he's the best technical character as well. So it's funny. we just got through the three best like roles in the game right here. And again, I would say if I was gonna compare like Krillin to Zamasu or Krillin to Vegeta, like Zamasu and Vegeta obviously are better characters, but in terms of the role, I think Krillin is definitely best in his technical role. If it's between choosing any of the characters available, I would personally go ahead and choose Krillin. That's for sure. Now we're talking about Piccolo here. Piccolo is the first character that we could say I actually don't like. He's ranged, which he has his value with being a ranged character, but man, I mean, talking about this, it's just so bad. I feel like it's so super janky. You have to specifically hit a wall. So it's like a lot of characters have ways to get out of combos or get away from the enemy. It's like this is just by far the worst evasive potential mechanic in the game. And then it's like, and the funny thing about Piccolo is, again, he's a ranged character, like I said, and you really want to take advantage of a character being a ranged character. The issue, if you guys, can think about it, he pulls himself into the enemy if you use it that way, and he does a really good powered up attack, but then you're just going to be facing yourself in close combat, and I think in close combat, Piccolo's not going to be that crazy. The floating blast, I think this can be used really nicely for control or stopping enemies from doing like Gekishin burst against the God of Destructions, but it's also very avoidable for the most part. Like I see Piccolo throw this out sometimes, and it's like maybe I get hit with one, and ideally, even if one just hits, you do apply this, but more than not, I'm able to evade them, and then eventually when they fall, I'm like, okay. Like it's like, okay, like what are you doing, buddy? What are you doing with that move? This is not doing anything. I think this is really good for snipes, by sniping an enemy that's running away. And again, this works really well with Piccolo being a ranged character. Now he does actually shorten his own cooldown as well. We definitely love to see cooldown reduction, but who cares about reducing cooldown on moves that are very niche and won't, like, this is not going to be used most of the time. This is like kind of niche to take advantage of. This could be good, I think. Special beam cannon. I'm sorry, man. This is like the worst ult in the game. The range is just so terrible, and you actually are required to have, like, you could get, like, this could be potentially really good sometimes. I think that says enough. Yeah. I think Piccolo's niche in role. I don't think he's like, don't use him ever. He can cook. I think everyone here can cook if you snowball like really well, or just play them right, or have a good setup, or just outplay the enemy. But Piccolo's definitely more niche, where I think if you're fighting someone like Dabura, maybe Piccolo could be really good, or just someone that like really has to be close quarters. But yeah, not a fan of Piccolo, unfortunately. I think they should buff him. Kid Gohan. I'll explain why, but you don't, like, unless you're just having fun. I think this is the worst character. Maybe I won't say don't use worst character. Yeah. Not worst. I'm actually kind of stupid, chat, in that regards, but it's fine. This is cool in theory, and then you're solo queuing, and then your ally runs around and you lose the buffs like half the game. Or one of your allies get 2v1'd, and then because Kid Gohan can't really do much. This is his best move right here. This quick charging, applying no skills. Like, you could cook by taking advantage of this. Maybe you could hide in the clouds and like kind of catch people off guard. Rush attack. It does apply strike defense down, but you have to hit him a few times. The Masenko is nice, but it's like the pushback is not like, oh god, game changer. Like, oh my goodness, by itself. And the range, like, look at this and look at Ooh, for example, right? You guys are seeing the point. And then this guy's not even doing crazy damage either. This gives energy defense up specifically. It does activate the defense boost instantly. It also has a warp. Like, I could see this be useful, but energy defense up. Why is it specifically energy defense up? I don't know. I mean, this does give all defense up. I feel like this should also just be all defense up, right? Energy defense down is fine. To be fair, most moves that are doing a lot of damage are blast moves, so it's not the biggest deal, but I don't see the purpose of it just not being all defense up. Exploding range, this, I mean, gives himself strike defense and boosts the number of his attacks, strike attack. This is definitely something I want like a technical to have, like a close range attacker ultimate, right? Like this seems like this would be something on like an attacker. Oob does this like same thing, boosting his attacks as a skill. It does give strike attack up to allied heroes, which is, we'll take that. I don't know, like maybe this could have been like a heal or more buffs or stagger the enemy or something besides damage on a technical character that doesn't really do damage. Like Krillin does damage and his burst damage. This guy, I mean, every character could kind of do damage over time, but this is pretty decent, right? You could stagger the enemy. I find myself escaping this pretty easily though, and if you don't get hit, you don't get staggered either. I find myself avoiding this a lot. Okay, Frieza. At first, I actually didn't like Frieza. Well, okay, I liked him a lot. Then I stopped liking him. Now I'm more on neutral on him. The issue with Frieza is his role is very different compared to every other character in the game. And I think I like it as a unique role as a technical. He has some really cool stuff. I think the idea behind this guy is God of Destructions, 100%. But that means that he's not good in, like, he's really good against God of Destructions, but throughout most of the match, he's not good. Does that make sense? And his health as a technical, of course, is very low. And I feel like especially, I don't know why, it just feels like he's super easy to, like, he's not really super easy to kill, but like, if you get caught early on, it's just, it can become very difficult for your team. And since you really want to avoid fighting with this guy, he kind of wants to try and range out. It can be a little difficult for certain allies that you're with, and he doesn't really do that much damage on top of being a ranged character. I think this guy's value right here again. The Zarbon basically doesn't damage. He applies strike defense down. I mean, will it matter a little? Sure. Zarbon's very slow. The Doria, I thought would be better. I think the Doria is still pretty nice. You can get him to look good, but it's a bit easy to avoid the Doria. And the issue with Zarbon and the Doria is that for some reason the cooldowns take 60 years. The cooldown is like 30 seconds, sometimes 15 seconds if you like recall them in time. But if the Doria gets killed, it's like 30 seconds for the Doria or Zarbon to come back if you kill them. And it's not like their HP is like crazy. And then Frieza without these guys, like, what is he doing? Like, especially, like, that's kind of his whole point. He uses the Doria and Zarbon to keep enemies from entering God of Destruction range. And then you just really attack the God of Destruction, like, a lot. Imperial Decree. This is by far his best move. This is what I focus on. Skill 3. It makes him super fast. This paired with the Fearsome Emperor, which also gives him more speed up. But on top of that, he doesn't get staggered the first time he's hit, and then it resets. This plus this into Doria keeping people out. And then you don't even use his ultimate, I feel like. Sometimes you might use it, but you save his ult for the Gekishin burst, and then you just kind of slam the enemy and just bam, right? And this is also super useful for getting back into the map because he moves super fast with the Imperial Decree plus his passive. It's just he's kind of niche with that, and I think throughout most of the fight he's doing whatever. I mean, his mobility is by far his strongest aspect, and the thing is, I think a lot of like him being really good at God of Destruction, I think it matters, and it could really turn the tides of a game. But I feel like every character has tools where they can actually still like do well against the God of Destruction at a very adequate level. Whilst Frieza's the best at it, he's the worst at almost everything else, except for Kid Gohan. So that's why Frieza's low, unfortunately. I think, you know, again, he's not bad, but he's kind of niche. If you know what you're doing with them, again, same with Piccolo and Frieza. If you know what you're doing with them and you really like practice with them and use them a lot and cook with them, you can make them look really good. I did that in my video yesterday. Frieza looked really good. Trunks here. I think Trunks is pretty good. I think Trunks is actually better in this test. I don't know if it feels like his damage is just better. I think they again, they didn't make too many changes, but I feel like one of the changes, I swear, his damage is better. Or maybe it's just more experience with Trunks and more seeing Trunks's in this specific test compared to the last one. Now, Trunks does have the transformation, which gives him an advantage because he is able to become invincible, blah, 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 push enemies away. This is the biggest perk of Trunks by far, and it's just his passive skill. When he KOs or assists an enemy, skills on cooldown may be activated, super attacks excluded. So obviously it doesn't include the super, but he can actually gain his cooldown to be completely gone, which you're usually using either this skill, like all three of these skills are so good at kill confirming. Like they're really good at kill confirming burst damage, and then you could just get everything back by using them, right? He feeds into himself very well. The only thing is that, and honestly, I mean, we see the range here, his range is better than most like offensive characters, I feel like, because of the sword like length. I don't know, I believe so anyways. I actually don't remember the exact range. I'm trying to think of so many characters right now, but obviously right here we see this burst slash. I think this is not crazy in terms of the range, but again, the idea is it deals more damage to enemies who HP is below a certain percentage, and when you actually hit the enemy, it's like pretty decent area to go ahead and get them killed, and you could just snipe them. Vanish strike right here, you warp to them. And then if you use a super attack after this, you also reduce the super attack activation time. So it's funny. You continue to go ahead and reduce cooldown time of all your skills. And then you could actually reduce the super attack activation time if you use a super after. He also gives himself movement speed up. You can move this around during the ultimate. Really nice range right there. Burning attack. The smoke is cool, but I don't think the smoke is anything where it's like crazy. It's more so just another move that does burst damage. I would say these two moves are the ones you probably focus on, and then this one last. Shining Slash, which is overall good. Like, he's overall a good character. And kill confirming is huge in this game, because the thing is, like, if you're able to do all that burst damage and make sure an enemy will stay dead, you continue to snowball essentially and raise your levels higher. The enemy can't raise their levels as much. I love Trunks. I think Trunks is very fun to play too. Trunks is, let's go ahead and see. I'm gonna say great and roll. I think Trunks is great and roll. Before I had him with Super Saiyan Goku, I think I definitely have Trunks up now. Trunks is able to cook very well. So let's hop in next. Again, he feeds into himself, which again we could see is really good for a lot of characters. I keep saying that word again, my bad, chat. 18 is also very good, and she's another character that feeds into herself. Of course, she does more damage with the assault targets, an ability that makes her stronger against this assault target here. Adds stacks to enemy heroes she attacks. So again, we see that she attacks enemy heroes and she builds up that assault target, and if they have the full stacks, she'll just do extra damage to them. It becomes powered up after activating, increasing range and damage. Hands-on, really good for kill. Confirming right here, deals more damage less enemy her XP has. And if the enemy's trying to run away, snipe them where this specifically. This is really good for moving into the enemy, and it applies no skills slash attacks. It's just cause you can't apply no skills, I guess. Why not? And if there's assault rush stacks, if you're already attacking the enemy, or maybe they're trying to run away, you could also rush in with this. Accelerate dash. She could actually reactivate it again if she KOs someone during this. It can be activated again immediately after it hits an enemy. So if you hit someone, you could also hit them, and that'll again feed into her getting the kill confirm, which will get this back. You could also use this or the hands-on. Yeah, it also tracks the enemy too if they have these solver stacks. So Heartbreaker here. This guaranteed attack that warps to the enemy's location, staggers them, deals high damage if an assault target. After the attack, Shockwave deals additional damage, and then the cooldown for the skill is reduced if you KO them. So she has a lot of cooldown reduction in her kit. She has just a lot of burst damage. All of her moves are good. I feel like it's like some characters is like move 1 and 2 are good, move 3 is okay. This move is like skill 2 is really good, but skill 1 and 2 are okay, right? I think all 3 of 18's moves are good. Like everything here is good. You can kind of go anywhere you want. I would probably focus on the step and the Kianzan though, and then this last, but yeah, no. 18 just overall has really good, really high damage. I don't know why I did the high pitched. Chat, sometimes I'm just stupid. Anyways, great roll. Great in roll. So we have Majin Buu right here. So Majin Buu has the healing. I do love to see that healing right there. So when he heals or applies debuffs, it actually does increase damage dealt by his rush attack. He's more of a ranged character, of course, we could see here. So he's able to stay back a little and kind of support the ally character that you're with. Strangle Gum, overall, I think I really like this ability. Throwing more gum increases the chances of the attack hitting the enemy, and then applying all attack down and movement speed down, and it gets to be really big right there. You're able to basically restrict them very well and make sure that your attack character or whoever you're with is confirming a kill, really. Healing Ray, I do like this. Closer allies receive more healing. It restores your own HP. And then when the skill level increases, you actually increase more targets at once. The amount of own HP healed increases as more targets are added. So if you're grouping up with allies, you're able to heal quite a bit and basically give almost like a second life to some of your allies. I think this is great. I do like this ability here. This move is actually better than the previous beta. I feel like the previous network test, it was a bit hard to control this. It's so easy to control this now. And you're just able to zone in on someone and give them no skills or attacks and pushes them away. This is so annoying. This is probably one of the more annoying moves in the game to face against. And again, Buu is another character where I feel like all 3 of his skills like have use for sure. The Candy Ray could heal everyone, turn enemies into candy, and if a character is 2 more levels above Majin Buu, who becomes the world's strongest candy with the ability to rush attack. So they can attack you if they're super high level above you, but it does prevent all actions except for the most part, and it heals everyone around. So also a good ultimate. Yeah, the only thing maybe about the healing is that obviously more allies around the better, but I think most situations you're either gonna be just with one ally or by yourself at certain points, because you want to ideally 2v2 the lanes. You could try things out like maybe 3v1, like 3v2 a lane. Sometimes it kind of just like help out, but it's situational. However, I still think that this could be good, and as a healing factor, I do like it. So not many characters do provide healing. I think it's literally only him and Baby, so that's a thing. Let's go ahead and put him, I would say, decent in role. I don't think he's great though. Yeah, he is able to cook. I just feel like he's generally like a fine option to run. Yeah, because the thing about Buu as well is, like I said here, like in terms of like having the more allies, like it doesn't really matter. Like obviously when it, okay, I should explain better. When it does matter, it will matter. But I feel like, you know, more targets added. Like, you're usually going to just be with one ally, I feel like. This could be annoying. This could be annoying. Like, Boo's more so like just annoying, I would say, and disruptive, rather than being really good on top of that. Which, like, for example, Krillin is like really good on top of having that disrupt annoying. Krillin does a lot of damage. Boo's more of like a kind of supportive role. So if your ally is not good by any chance, if you're solo queuing and you just get with a bad ally, or you know your ally dies, you just get outplayed, Boo isn't as good himself. Whilst Krillin is a character I think maybe could be a little more solo with that. Final Form Cooler is here. Final Form Cooler, very good. Actually, did I put? Yeah, I did put Boo in the list. Final Form Cooler, transformation character, so he has the ability to go ahead and become invincible. Imperial Retaliation, he does make himself immune to self when he's using a skill. He does enter retaliation status, and the effect of the next skill will be enhanced essentially if he does take a hit when he's during immune to all, which I think many situations he will be close quarters attacking. Maybe you could, I'd say, snipe someone with this or the supernova, but I think like 9 out of 10 times you're going to be close quarters with this guy, especially because of his rush attack, and he does extra damage during retaliation. So Cooler's another tank that could do damage, surprising. Fires the beam in a set direction, burns everything in sight. You could create pillars in the beams that apply continuous damage. I think this is fine. It's nice to just get some extra burst damage in there, but Cooler doesn't really need to worry about this specifically. The Death Stopper is his best move. It makes a area of gravity around him, and obviously it will stay consistent, doesn't move with him, but it applies high pressure, which we can see. I believe this is the high pressure right here. It's like, it pulls this Goku in right here. You see that? It's kind of stupid. And applies movement speed down. While in retaliation, attack time is extended and damage is increased. So yeah, I mean, overall, good move, right? It's not as good as Super Saiyan Vegeta's Photon Bomber, but it does a very similar effect to it, I would say. And it allows you to really lock down on a lot of opponents and get kill confirms. Death Chaser right here. This thing is especially good when you have retaliation up, so you want to go ahead and use, I think that like Destruction Ray into Death Chaser could be a really good combo because you have retaliation. When activated during retaliation, you pull enemies along his route, then smashes them, and you apply movement speed down, and the shockwave also applies movement speed down. So it's really good in retaliation, obviously. The movement speed down debuffs that Cooler has, so many. Imagine doing this and then fighting the enemy and then using this a bit later, and it's like they just can't escape. They just can't escape. Supernova is basically an ultimate version of Vegeta's Photon Bomber. Well, it pulls enemies towards them, and again, during a retaliation, it has increased AoE and deals extra damage. Cooler is just overall good. Again, everything I'm naming is straightforward, like good. I'm not saying like, oh, maybe this, maybe that. No, Cooler's just overall a good character. I don't think he's best in his role, of course, but I do think he's quite great in his role. He has a lot of survivability as well. I find him very tanky. Again, he's really helpful in getting kill confirms. He does pretty decent damage too. He also does extend his retaliation status when he's transformed. So overall good. Overall good. Full Power Bojack. I actually do like Full Power Bojack. I think from everyone I've talked with, they either like Full Power Bojack or hate Full Power Bojack. It's not either or. It's definitely, well, no, it is either or. It's definitely not in between. Anyways, he has a transformation. I do love transformations. Very nice. Galactic Assassin. Again, when he attacks, his subordinates will actually rush in and hit them with a follow-up attack. If he does actually hit them with a skill, the more skills his subordinates land, the stronger that they will grow. So over time, they get stronger and stronger throughout the battle as you use more and more skills, which as an offensive character, you're going to want to use his skills quite a bit. So make sure you do go ahead and do that. This move, the Galactic Buster, I think it's just a general good burst move. It's not doing anything crazy though, right? The Cosmic Bloom scatters energy blast in a set direction, can move redirect when attacking. The blast will explode. I feel like this move is kind of whatever. It's kind of like Piccolo's scatter shot. It's not really doing anything crazy. The Psycho Thread is another movement speed down AoE. And it does damage during it. Yeah. The only thing is that compared to a lot of the other AoEs, like you could damage the allies and then they'll leave during the move. But the range of this could be really nasty. And then you lock them down here, use Galactic Buster, or you could even use this, and then when they try to move around, they're moving slow and it's a little harder to kind of avoid these potentially, but it's really cycle threaded to this. The Grand Smasher, it's just basically covering the whole area. If you use this properly, you could do so much extra damage there. I do like this ultimate, and it does hit a wide range and then kind of again zooms in, but it does pretty good consistent damage. So I think overall Bojack is a good damage dealer, but he doesn't have like too much for me to really make him stand out. He's kind of like cooler, but cooler as an attacker rather than being a tanky character. So I'm gonna say decent in roll. Decent in roll. I think it seems good. And then we end things off with Super Saiyan Caulifla here. Super Saiyan 2 Caulifla, my bad. She transforms here, increases damage while in Bring It On. It gives herself extra effects right there. Now, Bring It On is interesting. So it increases resistances using Provoke status. Damage taken is reduced from enemies she applies Provoke to. And Provoke kind of just locks the enemy onto her. She does apply Provoke in some of her skills. So this is really the skill that does apply Provoke right here, the Storm Kick. I would think that this is her first best move that you want to focus on. Again, as a skill 1 move, certain times it could do extra damage depending on the situation. And she does that triple roundhouse kick. It does pretty decent damage, right? I'll definitely take that. Now, again, keep in mind that she does extra damage as well. Oh, never mind, I said that wrong. She does reduce the damage when she applies Provoked. The only issue is, I think, it's like, since you lock them in and you go in with Caulifla with like this move, depending on the situation, you get 2v1s, and when you get ganged up on, I think Caulifla can still get melted decently easy compared to other tanks. I think a lot of tanks have ways to restore their shield or things like that. Caulifla is just solely tanking. She doesn't have a way to restore her HP, so that could be a little sad right here. Now, this is her second best move. An attack that releases energy, protects close range enemy and energy attacks, applies movement speed up to stop after attacking. This could be quite good for God of Destruction, potentially keeping enemies out. I think what this will be really good for is when you have the Great Ape back. Right now we don't have the Great Ape. They'll add it back probably, and I think against Great Apes this could be really good from keeping enemies from just like using their ults and just nuking the Great Ape and like sniping, allowing your allies to do that. I feel like that's what this is designed for, but right now the Great Ape's not there, so I can't really judge off what I think it'll be, right? Crush Cannon does apply Provoked, does damage with the ult. You can move around. I just think the thing with Caulifla is that she, again right here is another thing where she's able to teleport towards the enemy, but she has to hit them specifically. It's like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of these other tanks just have better survivability. I think she could cook, and she has some really interesting moves, especially this energy release. Storm Kick could do pretty good damage. I'm just thinking in terms of her role as a tank character, she's leaning more towards just an offensive character to me. So I'm gonna say decent. Like Vegeta, Zamasu, and Cooler, I found just a lot tankier than Caulifla. Baby, Baby has a lot of health. I think Baby isn't as tanky as Caulifla, of course, but Baby, what he does is just stupid. With the amount of healing he provides and his moves set are all good for the most part. Caulifla's not like that, but Caulifla could still do some pretty nice stuff. And overall, like, especially, again, the damage that she reduces with the Provoked status is quite a bit. I just think it's, like, if she had a way to restore her shield, I think would be really, really nice. Or restore some sort of shield or something like that. Maybe if she got it from this, like, she doesn't need this movement speed up. She should give herself extra shield here, or what's it called, armor. she should give herself armor with this move, like Vegeta, like Super Saiyan Vegeta. I think that would help her a lot in terms of survivability. That's what I think. That's my opinion. But that is all the characters in the tier list. So again, we could just take a look there. This is what I'm thinking. Again, you could definitely make some switches around here and there, but I do like this. If I was gonna say, like, maybe you could put Cooler in best tank or Vegeta in best tank, I can understand why. You could probably, I mean, you could make an argument low-key for Trunks as best attacker. You maybe, but I think Oob is definitely there. 18 as well. I would say Dabura is definitely just stuck here and good. Yeah, I feel very good about all the rest of this here. Maybe Caulifla, if you really cook with her, could look great in robot. Yeah. So let me know what you guys are thinking. I appreciate y'all for watching. This is an hour video. Oh my god, that's crazy. There's a lot to talk about these characters. If I missed anything, just roast me in the comments. But I'll catch you guys again. Let me zoom in the next video. Peace out.